I have, another
Got a rant?
big, not a rant, kind of a little bit, conversation I was having on Twitter with some people, just because
Is that Twitter still picking up? People are doing that?
Twitter's doing okay, yeah.
Okay.
The flyer thing, so real estate agents send flyers with their listings, you know. I have a vested interest in it, obviously, but the question that I put out to the community was, what do you guys think of this? If you use it, does it work? If you don't use it, do you delete them? Do you read them? Whatever. And pretty much everybody that wrote back said, "Oh, I just delete those." And so then I posed, a follow-up question was like, well, because everybody said, well, if I want to look into that, that's just spam. And if I want to see listings, I go search for them in the MLS.
Okay.
Fair enough. And so one of the agents said, anything that is sent to me like that, or anything that's put out there on these different websites, that's just spam. And so I said, well, okay, so you put your listings on Trulia, on Zillow, and he said anything that's not in the MLS is just considered spam. And I said, okay, so if you put your listings out there on Zillow, Trulia, any of these syndication sites that blast them out to Google, all these, you want your listings everywhere when you have a listing, right?
Yeah.
Well, so in his definition, all of that stuff is spam. And I said, okay, and then a secondary follow-up question, and one of the people came back, pretty much nailed it, and he said, anything that you put out there that people have to come to, like a website, is not considered spam, because they still have to go to that website to find it. But
so if it's merely an advertisement to draw them into you,
if it's sent directly to them in their inbox, spam. If it's to a website that they have to then go to, that's not spam, because they have to actually go.
Good point.
So that pretty much solved that whole problem. But what I found interesting was one lady wrote back and said, I totally hate them, and I delete them whenever I get them. But I use them, and she gets results, obviously.
She likes the product.
So she likes it.
She doesn't respect it
when she has a listing and she needs to get the word out.
Because it works.
Because it works. I'm assuming that's why. I mean, why else would you do it? But she despises it when it's somebody else's. And I'm like, okay, yeah, just another opinion or whatever. But
two faces, kind of.
Yeah. And then one of the guys here from RMLS, Nick, he said he was in a meeting just recently where they brought that up, and pretty much everybody in the office said the same thing, that they thought if they were spam, and
But they're effective.
They're effective, and I know for a fact they're effective because I see the same people using them all the time, because I've signed up for the services and I get the emails and I see what comes and goes, and so it's the same people using them all the time for their listings, and obviously those people have a crap load of listings because because I see them.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I asked Nick, I said, so if these people are sitting in the office, is the people that sitting there complaining about it, are those the agents that just don't have listings, don't have anything better to do and complain about it, or are they the people that are actually out there selling homes?
By other methods.
Right. I mean, if I had a listing, I want to put it wherever, and I know that it costs money to do all these various things, and you have to figure out what works best. Obviously, these people that are using them over and over and over think that that's one of their best tools, and so to bring it all back around.
What was the answer from Nick on that, though?
He said he would have to look at the stats.
Okay.
He wasn't sure who. I knew when I worked at the title company, going into offices, I knew which agents closed, X amount of business, and that was who I targeted or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, so bring the whole story back around. The flyer that I got yesterday that I just thought it just caught my eye, because most of these
I made you read it.
Yeah, I look at them, I see where they're at, and I look at the house pictures, and if it's pretty, I'll actually read it. But if it sucks, I just delete it. Just probably like everybody else does.
Yeah.
But I always like to see what's going on out there, and so the one that I got yesterday was a picture of a family, and I don't even remember what the subject line said, which is how great of a subject line it was. But when I opened the email, it was a picture of a family there, and it basically was like something to the effect of, this family is looking for a home with all these characteristics. If you have something that's out there, if you have a listing like this, let me know. These people are pre-approved and ready to buy today.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like,
now that's powerful.
That's interesting. It's just totally backwards.
Totally backwards.
It's like a haves and wants. Like, what do you have? Because these.
So it's somebody with that. It's like a buyer's agent for some buyers. Talked to somebody who's a successful selling agent. Said, "What are you doing? How can I somehow apply it to my business model?"
So, yeah,
I'd want to call that realtor and say, what kind of hits did you get from that? I'd
Yeah.
almost want to follow that up. That's smart.
It was, it was, you know, it was
Yeah.
just like, it had a little bio about the family, how great they were and how they have great jobs and
Yeah.
blah, 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 and then here's what they're looking for in a home.
That's a
If
quick
you-
way from A to B than going to like a broker tour, walking in, saying, oh, this place isn't right. Do you know anyone who has this kind of a house? This is what I'm looking for.
Yeah. I would
Wow.
assume,
Yeah.
you know, every agent out there.
Knows what other people have listed. That's kind of how the whole thing works. And wow, that's pretty cool.
So yeah, well, maybe I should call them and say, hey, how, did that work any better?
Or if
than-
somebody with a flyer company like that, they should go out and market that kind of an idea. That's light going off there. That's impressive. I like that.
So that was
That's cool.
remarkable marketing. That's
Yeah.
what my
If
new
we can
blog
get, if we
was.
can, Remarkable Marketing, by the way, is a great new blog. So check it out, remarkablemarketing.com. So.